Okay, we're back, and we're going to announce on this program the cardinal rule of political campaigning in Escambia County. You do not, under any circumstances, have your opponent arrested. That is a standard that will never be violated. That during the campaign,
have him arrested.
Thou shalt not cause.
Wait a minute. Now, the sheriff got his opponent, Mr. Powell, arrested. And he said, this has nothing to do with the campaign.
No.
As a law enforcement officer, I know we got a bit of crack and thievery. We've got a high murder rate. We've got prostitutes. We have a few problems. But the main thing is to go through the election filings and see who's given cash instead of checks. That's the main way to protect the citizens, is to go through those. And if you find any abnormalities, as a citizen and a law enforcement officer, not as a politician, you point that out.
You know who was alleged to have given the tip?
No. You know all this.
A person that you have maligned on this program.
That's a large list.
Well, this guy you whacked about 8 weeks in a row. Commissioner Robinson is purported to be the tipper who tipped the sheriff. Okay? And so
and as a law enforcement
those two together decided that it was time for action. And so,
but what I don't understand,
poor old Powell says, vote for me. When my hands are untied, I can help.
This is, first of all, it sounds kind of a technical violation. I mean, it's the kind of thing some election commissioner say, we're going to fine you, or
of course
you got to give back the money or something. But to be arrested on a misdemeanor, turn yourself into jail, mugshot, that's awful.
Do you think it backfired?
And I don't know, but one of our law partners said, "That's it. I'm voting for Powell."
I know.
That's such a cheesy thing to do.
We've heard this from other people too, that overt action being taken against your opponent. Anybody else could have filed a complaint, arguably.
Well, you know, he had the nerve to up and do it. I mean, he could have had.
He could have.
Had a surrogate do it. We've seen a lot of that in these political races, like closing the primaries.
So, do you think that we'll see a lot more of arresting your opponent in the future as kind of a standard operating procedure, maybe in this area?
If it works, we'll do it. If it turns out to work, I think Grover Robinson, the father of the present Commissioner Grover Robinson, I think he was the one who started the streets, you know, hanging out with the street signs, "Hi, I'm Grover."
He did.
I don't think that went on around here, and it was a big success. He was very personable, and it wasn't the only reason he got elected, and he got elected.
He's a good person.
"Hi, I'm Grover." He was a good person. He died prematurely.
As is little Grover. I'm not little, but his son. Yeah, good person. All right.
So that's one way. So are you going to give? What we're not going to do is go down the list and say who we think you ought to vote for.
Oh,
but there are a couple of races that are just so interesting, we cannot avoid commenting. You want to comment any more on the sheriff's race?
Well, I think the difficulty here is that the sheriff has performed admirably.
Yeah, I think he's done a reasonably good job.
And we mentioned that on this.
Budget's a little high.
We mentioned this program.
He seems to be an honest person.
Yeah. And the problem's endemic in this respect, that they have no control over the union. None. The union is completely in control of their own outcomes. You don't have an adversary proceeding where someone is arguing vociferously against the interests of the union. The union basically gets whatever they want.
Yeah. The taxpayer really doesn't have a seat at that table.
They don't have a seat at the table. And what's happened is the cost of law enforcement just keeps going up. And then the threat is, well, you want to be safe. Yeah. You want to be safe or not safe? You want to be
and
safe?
then if the budget's cut, they're not going to get rid of the helicopter or the gym. We have to pull people off the street. Well, how about all those administrators? No, we need them. We're going to take people off the street unless you give us all the money we want. That's the traditional
The sheriff's budget should be reduced, substantially reduced. It's not going to happen. There's no public pressure for it, and the elected officials are terrified of confronting the sheriff.
You know, you get the sheriff's reaction, which was really kind of petty. I mean, he got mad at the news journal for telling the truth. You know, it's election time. He's a public official. He's out there for all to see, wearing all the medals. The medal flap came up, which I think he handled terribly.
Well, the medal flap culminated in the morning cartoon.
Yeah.
That is
great.
Probably, if the sheriff wasn't mad before,
now he's
sheriff's mad now. And if you haven't seen the cartoon, it's the sheriff with all of his medals and everything, and he has a gold medal from the Olympics. And then someone's asking, Sheriff, do you think the voters are going to go with this or
What
not.
a great country.
Yeah, it
you
is.
know, there are lots of places. This is the chief law enforcement officer, and if you've ever seen him, he not only has all the stars and stuff all over him, he has his gun.
Right.
And he's in charge of a whole lot of other people with guns.
Yeah.
And you can say, I'm not going to vote for him. I think he's made mistakes. I think whatever you want to say, you can say. And I say that with no fear of reprisal. That's just a wonderful country.
I view
the
this.
sheriff is not going to come and knock my door down, I hope, and kill me.
No.
I'm in the city anyway. So.
No, well, no, but the point is well taken. Where in the world, really any place in the world, can you make comments about elected officials who we empower with to carry firearms? And
It's great.
it's great. But you have to be respectful to them. We have been
You
of
should be.
the sheriff.
You don't have to be.
No. Yeah.
And the trade-off for unfettered free speech is you get a lot of nasty stuff, you get lying, and you get cheesy stuff. I hope we haven't crossed the line with the sheriff, who's a good man, and he served honorably in the Air Force, and he's done a good job in the Sheriff's Department. I just don't like some of his campaign tactics.
Well, that's
And his reaction to the medal flap. He should have said, you know, on second thought, I'm not going to wear all my military medals on the wrong side of my sheriff's uniform. I've reconsidered that. And the thing about the thing around my neck, I was having a bad day. That goes.
it was.
That cross of Malta or whatever.
Well, the knighted,
He's a knight of Malta.
yeah, we went through that last. Well, so anyway, the sheriff's race, from all accounts, so we're not going to go on either side of that, is a toss-up. It's close right now.
Here is,
from what I understand,
here is my chance to introduce an idea that'll benefit the public.
You may certainly do that.
You have the sheriff and you have Mr. Powell, and they're running for the Republican nomination, which is going to determine who becomes sheriff.
Correct, because there's a write-in. Yeah.
Where's the box for none of the above?
Yeah.
See, if you had none of the above, this would work in a lot of Escambia County races. You put none of the above, we have a do-over. The two candidates get kicked out, and you start all over again.
Well, you'd have to have a majority of.
Oh yeah, a majority, not a plurality.
No,
a majority, none of the above, and out they go.
Out they go, and you get a new choice.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
we could do that.
Yeah,
I read that they do that in Nevada, and I don't know all the details of it, but you do have a none of the above option.
I thought the mob just picked who they wanted in Nevada.
Well, that's why they can put that on the ballot.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how you vote.
That's what I was wondering.
It's just advisory.
Yeah, it's okay.
So we'll consider it, but we're going to put in who we want.
So you have some strong feelings about some other races, I know.
I do. Pretty strong feelings.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You want to fire away? Yeah.
Well, I've got a comment about the clerk's race.
Okay.
And you know both of these folks, I think.
do. Sure.
Pam Childers is, by all accounts, well qualified, well educated, well qualified, qualified to do a good job in the clerk's office.
She is.
Ernie Lee McGahey has his employees. We deal with the clerk's office. We deal with him in his capacity as clerk of court, not so much in his comptroller capacity. I don't anyway.
Right.
But the folks he hires for the clerk's office are good.
They are.
They do their job. So apparently you can credit management with a bunch of people who are very good at their job. Well, but rather than just running on her record, Pam Childers came out and said some misleading stuff. Like, for example, Ernie Lee McGahey is getting $250,000 from the taxpayers, suggesting that he's being paid too much. He's being paid his retirement, which he earned, plus the statutory salary. And if she's elected, it'll actually cost the taxpayers more. So I think that's misleading.
Now, how will it cost them more?
Because they'll have to contribute to her retirement.
Oh, okay.
And Ernie's is all funded.
No, that's a good point.
I mean, maybe it's not a big deal.
Well, it's a point. It's a point.
But that suggests that he's doing something wrong, collecting his $250 and $1,000, and it suggests if you vote him out, it'll save money. He'll still get his retirement, and somebody's going to get the salary you get for being in that office.
We need to explain.
That's one thing.
We need to explain how this
business works, where he can be retired.
We've talked about it before. Really, what happens here is an elected official, for that 5 years before they retire and leave officially, is they retire on paper, and they draw their retirement pay for that 5 years. They don't. They get their normal pay, but they don't get any retirement benefits from the state for that same 5 years. So they're getting what they've earned, okay, earlier. Now, then one argument is this, that in the event of their death, they've actually drawn 5 years earlier than they might have drawn. So there's an argument against it, but it's a very subtle argument.
But the argument for it is you're cutting it off. You're cutting the retirement contributions off.
You're cutting retirement contributions off. So it doesn't cost, the point is it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money, as Bill pointed out. So running an advertisement that suggests that somehow he's doing something wrong or getting something, it's just not true. I mean, it isn't true.
And here's another thing. And the primary is closed. Now, Ernie Lee McGahey used to be a Democrat, knows lots and lots of people. He's been around here forever. He's been in office forever. Yeah. Well, somebody decided to make a phony write-in candidate and send that into the elections people, and thus close the primary. You've explained that whole thing. Yeah. So now only Republicans can vote.
Correct.
Now, Pam Childers said, this comes from the News Journal, came out on our website the next day, this primary is closed. Meaning, ha ha ha, we did something good. And then when she was called on it, she said, I had no idea that my good friend with my yard sign out there would do such a thing. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Stretched credibility. So have you reached a conclusion?
Yes. Nobody's made the case that Ernie Lee McGahey is doing a bad job in order to be replaced. I mean, you get a sense that, well, he's been around so long, maybe he's just sitting around and just greets the jurors. The office seems to be running fine, and I think to kick out an incumbent who's done a good job, never been involved in any scandal, you ought to make a case for it. And I don't think that case has been made. I think it's a close call.
Well, I disagree and would support Pam, although I can't vote. I'm a Democrat, so I can't vote, which is a problem in this. But I think it's time for Mr. McGahey to leave. We all reach a point in time. I mean, we've seen it in other endeavors in life where people stay too long. Yeah. We have had it with football coaches. We've had it with
with judges. We have a mandatory retirement age. Now they get to come back, but it's okay to stop judges at age 70.
And even though when those judges come back, you may not even know this, but they'll do a poll among senior lawyers to say, is this judge still operating with his full faculties? Because they don't want somebody to be hurt from it. But here's the point. I think
they ask for comments when they got to get appointed, and then they got to get reappointed to this senior judge status where they can come in and sit on cases where they need a judge. But it's not automatic.
But I think it's time, based on some things that have been said by Mr. McGahey in response to very legitimate questions about the clerk's office, that indicate that he is not fully engaged as a clerk anymore, and that he can't be physically. I mean, you reach a point in your mid-80s where you need to spend time with your family and retire and enjoy your retirement. And I think a new broom sweeps clean, and every once in a while in public office we can say, well, there's been no scandal, et cetera. But you have to have new blood. You just have to. The nature of government is such that you have to have new people coming in and evaluating the competency of everybody involved, their abilities in the particular job they're assigned to, and on and on and on. And I think Pam has demonstrated. She's a CPA. She's very knowledgeable. And I've known of her, and I've known Mr. McGahey for years. So this is not easy. But I think it's time for him to retire. And I think Pam will do a good job.
And you would hope that if she wins, there wouldn't be some house cleaning for political reasons, and we'd hope that she would be above that.
I hope she will be, and I am confident that she would be, because she's just a reasonable and fair person. So it's tough. It's a tough race, but it's time to go. You know, just think.
I'd be happy, really, if either one of them is a clerk.
Won't affect us. And I think Bill's comment that our experience with the clerk's office through the years has been quite positive is correct. I just think it's time to change. All right, who else you got?
Wait a minute. Who else do I have? What are the other?
The public defender. Did you
yeah. Okay. James Owens is running against Bruce Miller.
Right.
James Owens has been the public defender for the past 4 years, and if nothing else, we know almost to a certainty that Bud Day supported him, and this is kind of bad. Bud Day's a war hero. He's an older lawyer, and he's got the Medal of Honor. He was definitely a war hero in the Vietnam War, and he supported Mr. Owens for the office. And then Mr. Owens gave him a job at $80-some thousand a year, which apparently required little to no work, a scam on the taxpayers. That's for openers. I think that should disqualify him. Secondly, let's say, charitably put, that the office and the individual are under some ethical challenges. He's being investigated by the FDLE for a couple of things. One is the Bud Day thing, and his opponent appears to be qualified, and this, you know, this is something we can't prove. This is kind of the argument from inside information. What you hear from the people who've left his office is not very complimentary of Mr. Owens.
All right, are you finished?
Yes.
Well, I would say that if Bud Day worked 30 minutes a month, he deserves the pay he receives. He was a prisoner of war for 5 years, serving this country in his military career. He is a wonderful lawyer.
Do you mind an interruption? If Bud Day came
and
said, Mr. Kerrigan.
I didn't interrupt you.
Well, I didn't give you, but what if Bud Day came and said, Mr. Kerrigan, I'm a war hero, I'm a deserving guy, I want you to give me a job at $83,000 a year, and I'm going to show up 30 minutes a month. What would you say?
If I had the money,
good idea.
If I had the money, I'd probably do it. Yeah, I'd do it. So can I finish?
You might. All right. All right, I'm corrected. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I think you made a valid point that maybe in the private sector you'd reevaluate it, but he served our government, okay, and served the American people, and so he serves as a consultant for James and advises him about various things that he knows as a lawyer, and I respect that, and I think that whatever he receives is nominal, and it is earned. Earned. Secondly, I think these ethical arguments about James, some of them have some substance with one of the employees he has terminated. And I think there is enough smoke there that there's a fire on that employee. But some of these other things where you have an employee, for example, arrested for DUI, or you have an employee that does something outside of your control.
Yeah, that guy who recently got fired, that's not his fault.
So that's not James's fault. And the other thing is this. James goes to court and tries cases, which I admire for the public defender's job, because I think it sets the right tone. And he has hired some wonderful lawyers. I don't necessarily agree that the people that left don't think much of him. I think some of the people that he fired probably should have been fired. So they're probably not too happy with him. Has James made some mistakes? I think he's made some mistakes. But I know this. He's really a lawyer, and he'll really try cases, and he has good employees, and I'm going to support him. So
okay.
We have a difference of opinion about that?
We're going to cancel out.
Cancel that out. Somebody said, oh, this is Connie Mack's position. This is really a pretty good argument. That Connie Mack says the reason you ought to support him is that Nelson is canceling out Rubio's vote. That's the best argument.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good, right? If you want,
Listen,
you can hate me. Admittedly, I'm a drunk. I'm a bum. I mean, admittedly, I'm a horrible human being. I don't pay my taxes. But
I wouldn't be for Connie Mack if there was no chance Obama would be reelected. But, I mean, we need a total Republican House and a total Republican Senate to stop the wave of left-wing lunacy that Obama has foisted on the country. That's my...
Well, as usual, Mr.
Considered opinion.
Mr. Rankin got the last word again. But he watches this clock. He times it perfectly. We must take a break right now. I have nothing that I can respond to at this point. We'll be back in just a minute.